And
I think what has
now,
happened with him is because he hasn't made a lot of runs in the last third of his career, right? He had a pretty steep
yes,
decline. So there has been some revisionism actually on his career that okay, maybe he was not so great a player, which I think is a bit unfair on him. I think some of the criticism is also fair. I'm not denying that, but I mean to say that someone with 9,000 plus runs, 30 Test match centuries. Yes, he doesn't average 50. He's still I think averaging 47. But even Amla is a very similar case, isn't he? And Amla also had a
mhm,
very high peak and then he had a pretty steep decline. And I think those two are actually pretty similar batters in a way where great ODI players as well have that ability to play both spin and pace, rotate strike pretty well. All those sorts of the basics of the game they were very clear at. Not necessarily at they may not have had the flamboyance of an AB de Villiers or maybe the grit of a Jack Tallis, but those sorts of players you always want to have in your team, I think. So it fits pretty well. And
hello and welcome to another episode of Stumped, a podcast that I specifically created to allow myself to waste the time of people who have better things to do than sit around and chat cricket. And today I have someone who does a lot of that, not wasting time, but cricket chatting, that is. And that's my good friend, Shayan. Shayan, thank you for joining me and welcome.
yeah, thank you, CS, for having me here. Very excited to talk about this upcoming series between India and South Africa.
Yeah, man, this has been a long time coming, hasn't it? You have been doing a lot of
Yeah,
work, podcast work on good
yeah,
areas, and then we were just waiting for India and South Africa to play for us to do something.
true. No, no, completely agree. I think it was actually the podcast with Behram that I saw that. Then I was like, okay, we can also do something together. And then you suggested, okay, when India and South Africa play, we'll do it. So I think
Yeah,
this is now the right time to do it as well. Now that the Women's World Cup is also over, so that was also a pretty hectic time period, of course, in
yeah,
terms of work and everything. And so now I think
yeah,
the last week has been quite chill. So we'll be back in business again with this India, South Africa, and then the Ashes coming up. So
yeah. You guys, I had it easy. I just had to do a little bit of social media, but you guys really had to do a lot of work during the World Cup. And speaking of that,
yeah.
congratulations. Big win
Yes, yes, thank
that World Cup.
absolutely. Yeah, and
Hmm.
congratulations to South Africa as well. Like their entire run in the tournament was special. Specifically the semi-final, how well they played against England. Laura Woolward and Marizan Kapp. I mean, the two biggest players of the team stepping up in the semi-final. Of course, even in the final, Woolward played brilliantly. She made another 100, 200s in knockout games. I mean, that is anti-choke, if anything, right? And I think South Africa actually had a great run. I know whenever they lose a knockout, people always say that it's a choke, but I didn't feel this was a choke by any means. They just played good cricket. I mean, they played good cricket for quite some time, but ultimately it was India who was the better team on that day, and they ended up defeating them. Similar to how actually South Africa defeated India in the group stages, right? Although you could
Mhm.
argue India did choke a bit in that game because Nadine de Klerk and Chloe Tryon and all, they pulled off a brilliant innings actually. But and India were in a position of power after they got Woolward out in that group stage match. But here, I think India were dominant all the way through. Of course, there was the threat of Woolward. Maybe if she's set at the death, who knows? And with Chloe Tryon and Nadine de Klerk still there, anything could have possibly happened with 79 and 9 overs. I think it was very big win for India. Of course, they needed this title because they have been reaching semi-finals and finals very regularly in women's cricket, but somehow they've not been able to cross the line. And now I think South Africa have also had a similar story, right? Like they've also made three finals in a row now in women's cricket, and even in the men's game, they won the WTC final. But in white ball cricket, they still have to win that elusive cup. That when was the last time? It was the ICC trophy, right? The ICC
Mm.
Champions Trophy in 1998. That would have been
Yeah.
the last major white ball title, if I'm not wrong. But I think the WTC win was so special, so it sort of makes us cricket fans also really happy that okay, South Africa has won a title, and I think whenever there are neutrals, they will always root for South Africa. At least I do in most of these matches. And
Mhm.
if at all India had to lose to another team, it would have been South Africa, I thought. And especially, they won the WTC final. This has been a year of so many teams that haven't won in sports going on to do the job. In that regard, also, I think it's pretty special.
And when you look at it from an Indian perspective, does this win signify a major moment, like a shift in Indian
Yeah,
women's
yeah.
cricket? We've had WPL for a while, but do you feel this pushes things forward a bit?
Yeah, definitely it will. I mean, the advent of the WPL was obviously a very big deal in, the whole professionalism of the game and all of these players getting to perform in knockout matches and going like rubbing shoulders with the best players in the world, sharing experience with them and all those sorts of things. Getting to know them from a matchup perspective. The other players also do. So I mean, it goes both ways in if we look at it in that regard. But honestly speaking, I think this is going to be the biggest moment in Indian women's cricket by far because even the 2017 World Cup was like it was massive. It made sure that people have now started tuning in to these events, but they didn't win that title, right? And they came close many times after that, but they couldn't get the job done. And same thing here as well. Uh, so many people watched the final, first of all, right? I think the viewership stats came out and they were very similar to the T20 World Cup that India and South Africa played in 2024. Of course, I mean, it's a 3 hour T20 versus a 9 hour one day, so we have to take that into account as well. But even apart from that, so many people following the women's game passionately, I think it was just a special time that entire month following this team, and especially how this team came back up after losing so many games in the group stages. They lost to all the semi-finalists in the group stage. They beat New Zealand in that must-win game, and then in the knockouts they brought the best game forward.
And let's move to the upcoming series now. When
Yeah.
when you pay attention to what's being said in India at the moment, what's the feeling around Shubman Gill's captaincy?
I think with Shubman Gill, I personally thought he did well in England. I mean, it's not easy to, lead a new team in England and go on to draw the series. Of course, there were some tactical issues at times, and he's still a young captain. So I also feel Gautam Gambhir's imprint is also on this team in a way, and that goes both in a positive and in a negative sense sometimes because he has this tendency to pack the team with all-rounders, which is not always ideal in Test cricket, I think. In white ball cricket, you completely get it. You want batting depth. But in test matches, you want wickets. So India did not play Kuldeep at all in that England series, and it was ultimately it was three bowlers who were doing the job, the three pacers who got the job done at in that Oval Test that India somehow managed to steal
Mhm.
out of nowhere, right? If India had another wicket-taking option, things could have been maybe easier for them, or you know. So I think from that perspective, on field, I don't really see much of an issue. West Indies series, I couldn't follow that closely, so I can't comment that well because I was covering the Women's World Cup at that time. And so he still made runs. India won the series quite comfortably. There has been some criticism of how this management has used Nitish Kumar Reddy at times because they haven't really used him too well with bat or ball. So they probably need to clarify his role a little better. But apart from that, right now I think around Shubman Gill, more people are critical about his T20 stuff because they're like, why is he in the T20 team when Jaiswal is sitting out, right? And I think that's a pretty fair question to ask. Even when I was doing the Asia Cup preview with Behram, I was always of the opinion that Jaiswal is the better opener in T20s. But if you want a number three, then I think Shubman Gill has the skills to get that job done. But they've ultimately gone with Shubman Gill and Abhishek to open the innings in T20 cricket. And I think they can consider, getting Jaiswal back in, but maybe they're looking at Shubman Gill as the future, as this all format skipper. So I don't think it's a terrible idea per se. And obviously, in the longer formats, I don't see any issue whatsoever. In T20s, yes, I think India should back Jaiswal uh, over Shubman Gill for that opening slot.
Hmm. And um, when you look at this setup, I was looking at the team and I see there's three
Yeah,
wicket keepers. There's KL Rahul, there's
yeah,
Dhruv Jurel, and then Rishabh Pant. I'm assuming all
yeah.
three might play, or will
There is a good
Dhruv
chance,
has
yeah.
or will Dhruv have to wait for one of KL or Shubman or Rishabh to be dropped? But I don't see KL sitting on the bench.
Yeah, so basically KL is not going to keep in test matches anyways. He's more of a regular keeper in white ball cricket. He actually kept in the South Africa series back in 2023-24. I think that was a stopgap sort of an arrangement where India didn't have Rishabh Pant. He was injured at the time, and India wanted more
Mhm.
batting. So they ended up giving the gloves to KL Rahul and batting him in the middle order. So I don't think KL Rahul is in consideration for Test match wicket keeping at the moment. Rishabh Pant, if he's so he actually had an injury in the last game itself, right? The India A game that South Africa won. He managed to injure himself, but I think he should be better now. He did come back and bat. He made 64 runs, if I'm not wrong, as well. South Africa won the game. We'll talk a bit about that too. But I mean, I think ideally they should be able to play both of them, and Rishabh Pant can bat at number five, Jurel can bat at number six. So that's one way they can look at this. If anyways they're not going to use Nitish Reddy too much with bat or ball, I think that's also a fair way of looking at things. And Jurel at number three could also be an idea worth exploring in a way because in these India A games he has performed really, really well. And whenever he's gotten a chance in Test match cricket as well, I think he's looked the part. He has a very solid, compact technique, plays with a straight bat, is very strong, very good player of spin as well, and can face pace bowling too. So I think I would play both Pant and Jurel, and if Pant is fit, then he will obviously keep wickets. But I don't mind if they give the gloves to Jurel either. But it will be an interesting one, I think. Let's see how they rate Jurel.
Mhm. A favorite of mine is Sai Sudarshan. I love him. Each time I watch him in the IPL, I smile because he's
Yeah,
such a good player. But
yeah.
do you see him playing, or he's just going to be on the bench?
So he was still the number three, right, in that last series as well against the West Indies. So he's gotten a run at number three now for some time. I would assume if they're backing him, they should give him another series. I don't really see much of an issue with that. But if at all they decide to make the call that okay, he has not made too many runs yet at Test match level, maybe they can consider promoting Jurel at number three and going in that direction as well. But I think they should stick to Sai Sudarshan. You give him at least the entire home season to be able to, prove his worth. Yes, I think he's looked good at times, but in Test match cricket, maybe he hasn't. Even in first class cricket, if you see his batting average is not very high. I think it was around 40, maybe even under 40 last I saw. But his ability to, how do I explain it? When he gets going, he has that ability to make big amount of runs in first class cricket. So I think they should back him for this series. I don't really see too much of an issue with that. Varun might disagree. Varun, I think, might be of the opinion that Jurel can bat at number three. If I'm not wrong, I might be mixing conversations up. There's so much stuff going on that I might be misremembering. But I am okay with both options actually. They can stick with Sai at three, or if they think that okay, he hasn't yet delivered, which is fair, I think, because he hasn't made the runs yet at Test match level that you would expect. Actually, I will pull up his numbers. I don't think he averages over 30 yet because I saw one of his wickets actually in that West Indies series. I just saw a clip of that later on. So he went on the back foot to a very full delivery. So maybe his spin game isn't yet, perfect the way it might be for some of the other players. And because he's also on the younger side, right? He's not a very experienced player per se, like some of the other players that we're talking about here. And so for that reason, I think so yeah, in 5 matches he just averages 30. He's got a couple of half centuries, one where he got a half century in England, and then he's got one half century here in the last series as well. So I think I would give him this series. I don't really have much of an issue with that.
We are not going to discuss Jaiswal. There's no point. He is a phenomenal player. I mean, why would we want to talk about him when he's so good? But
No, no.
the one I want to ask is Padikkal. I don't see him
Yeah.
playing, but I think, but he's just the one name that stands out. You look at the team sheet and you're like, oh, Padikkal is in here. I've seen him more, maybe because I don't follow the Ranji Trophy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I don't have an understanding of how good he is as a red ball player.
Hmm.
But I know he's good in the IPL. But what do you think of him? If it happens that he's given an opportunity, where do you think he's going to bat?
So I think if he gets a go, he's also probably going to bat at number three. It's going to be in a competition, with Sai Sudarshan, and I think I don't think he is as talented a player as Sai Sudarshan, for example, but that could just be my bias from watching purely based on eye test, it could be that I prefer watching Sai Sudarshan more. But even Devdutt Patikal, I think he has shown that ability to score runs at the first class level. He averages 41 in first class cricket, and in Test matches also he's made a half century. He played against England in Dharamshala last year, and he looked pretty solid actually in that game, if I remember right. And so he is another option that they might consider, or they can even think about, uh, playing him down the order as a number five, number six, maybe as that extra specialist batter if they want to go in that direction. Maybe instead of a Jurel, which I don't think makes complete sense because Jurel has clearly shown that he is the informed batter and you have to back him at this point. If you want to play that extra batter instead of Nitish at six, for example, or even one of the all rounders, Washi or Jadeja, any of them who can come in at six as well. With India, I think playing at home, they have so much flexibility right now. And until and unless they go for absolute rank turners, their batting shouldn't really be much of a problem, I think. And even the old guard has now retired. They were mostly on a decline. Kohli was not making runs for a long time in test matches. Rohit Sharma had a very sharp, very steep decline. So now that it's all about these new guys and they can express themselves, it's their team, right? Sometimes I think what happens is when you're playing under the shadows of these bigger players, you may not always be able to perform to your best. I know this sounds like a bit of, psychobabble sort of a thing where it's not necessarily true either, but what I'm really trying to say is that now they can really leave their imprint on the team by, because they have their roles clearly defined. And we've seen that with Gill, right? I think he is the best example of that because Gill was initially an opener,
Mm.
then he came down to number three, and once Kohli retired, he shifted to four, and that was, I think, perfect for him because the way he sets up with the bat, he has some issues with the moving ball, but once he is set, he has that insane ability to make big runs, especially on good batting surfaces, and that is pretty much what you want from your number four, right? You want big runs on a consistent basis. That's exactly what Gill has shown at number four in this entire stretch since he has become the captain of the
Mm.
Indian team.
And Gil loves all rounders, and I see there's quite a few of them here. I mean, I did a head count, and I think there's one, two, three, there's four of them. Whom do you think is going to be with Jadu in this side? Because it's a no-brainer. Jadeja has
Washington,
to play. He's
yeah,
he's that
this
good.
is one of the yeah, yeah, he will play. There is no doubt about that. I think Washi will also play. So that means if they go with five batters and they probably go with let's say they go with Jurel as well, right? So I'll try and see what sort of an 11 they can come up with. So obviously their opening that is not much of a problem. Jaiswal and KL at the top they're set. Then at number three you can have Sai Sudarshan. Number four you can have Gill. Number five Rishabh. Number six can be Jurel, and then they can see whoever wants to keep wickets based on if Rishabh wants to keep, then I think the Indian team can't do much about that, right? Because he is now a senior player in this team, and so at times I think his keeping does have some issues, but it's not even that bad. Like sometimes people exaggerate it. I feel he can take some really good catches also at times, and so but Jurel also has shown that he can keep wickets pretty well. So I think number five Pant, number six Jurel, and then number seven we can have Jadeja. Number eight can be Washi. Nine can be Kuldeep, and then two more pacers that they can pick. Bumrah, Siraj, Prasid, Akash, whoever I mean they feel is fit at that time, they can go with the two quicks. So I see Jadeja and Washi playing in that case. Yes. But if they go in the direction of okay, we want more all-rounders, we want to have that option, then they can not have Jurel and they can still stick to Nitish at number six.
Do you see Bumrah playing both tests?
That's a good question. I'm not very sure. So he does play both against the West Indies, if my memory serves me right. I would imagine he wants to play every single test match that he possibly can.
Mhm.
So they will manage his fitness. They will see if it makes sense to play him in both the games. But I would assume he starts the series at least. Although he has been playing T20 cricket in Australia too. So they might, they could also think that, okay, let's rest him for the first match. Let's go in with the team and then next match we can bring him back in. So I think both the rationale makes sense. Ultimately, it's going to be dependent on how his body reacts and everything, right? because you want him to play as long as he can, even if it means he's playing on a sparring basis. You want to get the best out of him in every single match rather than play him in every match based on how his fitness has been so far. And the level of bowler that he is, more than 200 wickets at less than 20, I mean, that is just historic stuff, isn't it? So India would just hope that he keeps on playing and winning them games. And in England also, they showed that even without Bumrah, they have the ability to get the job done, which I think is always a good sign for a team. It's not to say that they are a better team without Bumrah, which is, I think, some absurd logic that people use at times, that okay, just because a superstar player performed and the other team didn't and they lost, and then the superstar player went out and the team won. It doesn't work like that, right? There's so many other factors in winning or losing a test match, especially a test match. I think in white ball cricket, at least you can argue that okay, it's just one player can have an impact on the game, but in test matches,
Mhm.
there are so many moving parts. It's a proper 5 day encounter. Both teams factors. Wicket can change from day to day. Even within an hour, the weather conditions can change and so many things, right? So I think in that regard, it's going to ultimately depend on Bumrah's fitness. If he wants and his willingness to, it's going to be a combination of both essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, because as a South African supporter, I am more afraid of Bumrah and Siraj together, because if one is out, then you know
Hmm.
that it's one bowler to deal with. But with both of them playing, then it's a bit of, it's a lot, if I can put it that way.
Yeah. I think that's what happened in the series against West Indies too, right? It's just the fact that when you have two new ball bowlers of that quality going up on Indian wickets, anything is possible. Although, to South Africa's credit, the South African A team ended up chasing 417, and that team basically had all the bowlers except Bumrah and Jadeja, if I'm not wrong. So, and there were, I think, at least three players that are likely to, play in this next test match.
Whom do you think will get the nod between Kuldeep and Akash?
Kuldeep, I think, will play. I assume they will go with the strategy that they have in the last series, three spinners and two pacers, which makes good sense, I think, on Indian wickets. Obviously, with Jadeja and Washi, you get that left arm finger spin and you get the right arm off break. So for variety, it makes logical sense to just stick with Kuldeep. You get a left arm wrist spinner. There is the option of Akshar Patel as well. Just imagine he would walk into most teams in the world, right? But just because India have so many spin bowling all round options at the moment, he's like, where would you fit him in? Maybe after Jadeja retires, he's easily going to slot in for Jadeja, right? And he's already showing that in white ball cricket that he has that ability to impact games both with bat and ball. And even in Test cricket, he had such a his Test cricket. The start of his Test career was actually brilliant, and Manish did that whole big analysis on how the dip that he gets and it was a very, I think, in-depth analysis, and even I need to go and read it properly one of these days. And Jared also did a video on that, and like there was lots of stuff, lots of moving parts around the sort of bowler that Akshar is, but he is probably not going to make it because Kuldeep is a better bowler, and apart from Kuldeep, obviously you'll pick both the all-rounders, and there's no issues with that. And among the pacers, then yeah, it's about the two pacers. If Bumrah is fit, obviously he's in, and the next best then is Siraj. But if let's say they decide to rest one of them, they have the option of going with either Akash or Prasidh. And I am fine with either. I think maybe it could be worth giving Prasidh a go on these Indian wickets as well. Let's see how he adapts to these conditions, because I think Akash has shown that he can bowl on Indian wickets pretty well. He's that sort of subcontinent bowler, right? He has that ability to hit the stumps regularly. Prasid is more of that tall, lanky, fast bowler who gets a lot of bounce off the surface. Even if he's bowling length, because he's so tall, the bounce will always cause issues for the batters, right? And so I think it depends on the sort of reasoning that India go with, but any of the two fast bowlers that they think makes the most sense, I'm here for that.
And when you look at the field, given what you're probably seeing during the preps,
Yeah.
what do you think Eden Gardens will be like? Will it be turning a lot, or? just standard Indian
That is a
circus.
bit hard for me to answer, honestly. I don't really know what the wicket is going to behave like. Uh, so I will actually look up if they played any Ranji Trophy games there. I haven't been able to follow the Ranji Trophy much. I know it's going on. The thing is, with once you're covering a specific tournament, it just becomes so hard to follow the other stuff that's happening in the game. I think, and obviously, right at the moment in the Ranji Trophy. I think they should not, first of all, they should not make the mistake of serving them ranked turners because I know that South Africa has good spin bowling talent. And if you just give a ranked turner to a bowler like Maharaj or even Harmer, right? Like these guys they have that ability to, make sure that the Indian batting order also collapses. That is definitely not impossible in any scenario.
Brilliant. And look, when I look at my side, I don't see changes
Yeah. Hmm.
from
The
Pakistan. I
Pakistan.
think
Yeah.
Maharaj, Mutusami, and Simon Hammer will play. That's what I think
Yeah.
because
All three will
we
play,
only
right?
carried, yeah, because look, we only carried what two pacers, Janssen and
Correct.
KG.
Correct. Correct.
So and then it will be probably a shootout between Mulder and and Corbin Bosch for the all-rounder spot.
Hmm.
Well, we have Janssen, so
Yeah.
he
He
will
can
be the other
obviously give you
all-rounder.
something with the bat. Yeah.
Yeah, but
But I mean,
I don't see any
uh,
changes.
will they not consider Mulder at three anymore? Because they did stick with that for some time. And I know he played one game at number three in Pakistan. Then the next match he doesn't play, right? So do you think they're going to consider him again at number three?
I think Disorzi just made things difficult because the way he
Hmm.
batted in that second test, he just showed them that
Right.
look, I can do a job here, and that's what everyone has been saying about Dizozi, that his quality, his ability to adapt to those conditions in Pakistan just means that I think South Africa will say, let's just stick with him. He will
Correct.
bring in the runs and the stability.
No, no, I think that makes good sense. Uh, Obviously, Mulder was also a bit of an experiment, I think, in the sense that you cannot rely on him to make consistent runs at number three. But I think the fact that he has shown that he can do the job means that if there is a crisis situation, you can use him up there if need be. If maybe a batter is injured or something like that, you get another bowling option also with him. And I think he can bowl a bit in Asia. He was decent in the Bangladesh series last year, wasn't he? So,
Mhm.
I, uh, who do you see going for the all-rounder spot? Will they pick Mulder or will they pick Bosch?
That's tough because Bosch, last year I would have said Mulder because Mulder is more
Yeah,
tested, is tried and tested. But now,
correct.
with the way Bosch has just blossomed, Bosch has been a late bloomer. He's just come through and he's coming for everything. It's tough to just not consider him. A part of me
Yeah.
wants to say Mulder, but I see Bosch challenging for that spot heavily because he just gives so much.
No, no, no. I think that's completely fair. I actually, in this time, I looked up what has happened in Eden Gardens in the last couple of games in the Ranji Trophy. So,
Mhm,
interestingly, neither of the two games were very high scoring. So, uh,
mhm.
there have been scores around 200 in the 200s. There's one score in the 300s. Some scores less than 200 as well in the two matches that they played. So, let's see what happens if it's not going to be a very high scoring game, and if they end up serving a wicket that is spinning as well, then it could potentially backfire because Pakistan, we saw in the Pakistan series, right, that South Africa have the ability to do well on a wicket that has some help for the bowlers because that brings their bowlers also into play.
Yeah, I mean,
And their batting is also pretty solid, right? Like at the
eh,
moment, I don't think they have such massive issues with playing spin bowling that they probably would have had in the past. Would you agree with that statement?
yeah, I think the issues are better against spin. Guys,
Hmm.
I suppose this is one of those things that we wouldn't have thought of like 7 years ago. But now guys are better. They handle spin better. And
Hmm.
what I just thought of is it will be interesting to see who makes way for Temba because he's back.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
That is
you
big news,
know,
right? He is probably, yeah.
mm, because
No,
you
no, I was
have
just saying, yeah.
no USA.
No, no, go on, go on. I think there was a bit of miscommunication. No worries. Go on.
No, I was
Yeah.
just saying, you have Aiden and Rickleton up top, and then number
Yeah.
three is going to be interesting whether you go with Dizozi or Stubbs, because I get the
Yeah.
feeling that the half century last time against Pakistan, so he is showing himself to be getting his mojo back.
Hmm.
And again, India is familiar territory for Stubbs. He plays IPL there, so
Correct.
if he can adapt his game, then it might be good news for
Hmm.
us.
Definitely, I think, and but Distorzi has made runs in the last series, so would it not like maybe they can have Stubbs at number four then in that case and Bavuma at five. That is another way that they can look at this, or Bavuma at four, Stubbs at five, maybe in that direction, you know.
Yeah, because I don't. When I look at Temba is the number four. You put him at five,
Hmm.
you're shooting yourself in the foot. You know, at good
Hmm.
areas, we'll have fives who push the game forward. Yeah.
But I mean,
So
uh, so I was actually working on this most improved player piece, and then when I was looking at Timba's stats, he has batted a fair bit at 5-2 at times, hasn't he? And they had David Bedingham as well at that time. So it will be interesting to see now in this 11 where they see Bavuma going. But
I
I
think,
get
yeah,
you. I think at number four it might make the most sense logically because you want your the best batter of your team to not come in too far too late, isn't it?
yes, exactly. And you also want him to come in. If he comes in at four, then if you put Stubbs, whether you put this, if you put Dizozi at three, then Stubbs will have to come at five. And Stubbs has the ability to push
Yeah,
the game forward, but you also want him to be able to
correct.
hold the game, the innings together while everyone else goes after the bowling.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree with you. I think so. If we look at the lineup that they fielded in the last series, in the very last game,
Mhm.
that would be interesting because I think that gives us a clue of how they might want to approach this. Because they might not want to change too much from a winning template, isn't it? If it's something that has gotten them success,
Yeah.
they actually made 404 runs in that first innings against Pakistan, which I think is pretty solid work. Do you remember what sort of a wicket it was like? Was it spinning a lot or was it like a good batting wicket too?
It it turned a bit because if I look
Hmm.
now at the stats,
Yeah,
I think the spinners dominated.
true,
So there
true.
was a bit of turn. And so,
Yeah, again, most of the wickets were by
KG,
spin. You're right.
yeah. So there was a bit of turn there. And while I love KG, I was just looking at the stats. Hmm, he does not have a good record in India. So he doesn't take wickets
With the ball or with the bat?
with a ball.
He made 71 runs. It's only fair to talk about his batting.
Oh, yeah. Look, with the way he betted the last time, we could bet him at seven, eh?
He's the he's the most glorious tailender to ever exist, right? He's Brian Charles Ramada, the way he plays that cover drives. His cover drive is so elegant to watch. And I think didn't he hit a six as well in that last game, which everybody was talking up on social media. I think it was
Hmm.
hit down the ground, was it? Yeah, off Shaheen,
Yeah.
if I'm not wrong.
Look, the thing with KG, you watch him bat and you think, how does this guy only have one half century? Like, it doesn't make
Exactly.
sense. He
Yeah.
is so good.
But it wasn't just this match either. If you remember, there was that match against Pakistan in South Africa as well, where Jansen and Rabada chased down 150. And that game was also looking like, okay, Pakistan might just end up stealing this from,
Yeah.
they might end up defending a very low target. But those two batted with such composure. Actually, I remember watching that partnership very clearly, and I was just enjoying it. Like, okay, go on, come on, let's win this, guys.
I
Yeah.
think I
So
think
okay,
KG just
I have the
does well. Yes.
sorry.
No, I was saying KG does well against Pakistan. He just
Huh.
they bring out the best in him.
Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah. So, yeah, if you look at their 11, obviously they'll have Markram and Rickleton at the top. They'll have Stubbs was at three, and so Dizordi. Do you think
Yes.
Brevis goes out then?
I think so. Look, when you have Temba in the side, what it
Yeah,
means is you have to choose between the three: Dizozi,
yeah.
Devalt,
Stubbs.
and Stubbs.
Yeah,
So
correct.
the way I'm
Two of
looking
those
at it,
three.
yeah, I'm looking at it from an experience point of view. That Shooks might say,
Hmm.
I will go with experience. I will go with Dizozi and Stubbs, and then Brevis is on the bench.
Hmm.
And if need be,
Cool.
then maybe Brevis might get one game, and then one of Dizozi and Stubbs
Hmm.
gets one game also.
Yeah, that's also a fair way to look at it because obviously Brevis is not yet proven at test level. I know he has lit up white ball cricket this year in particular with how he's batted in internationals as well as the IPL, even the SA20 actually. I think that's where it all really started for him, where he was hitting the ball so well and he was playing spin particularly well, wasn't he? I think you did that whole big piece on him and you were comparing him with how like he used to have posters of Virat Kohli and you I think because we
Mm,
were talking about that story of how Kohli played Ajmal and Brevis also, I think has that ability to, attack spin, but also play it well compared to, I think, other South African young talents, isn't it?
mhm,
Obviously, not at the
mhm,
level of Callis or Amla or De Villiers. Those are some next level batters, greats of the game. But
mhm.
still, I think you would take a player of his quality any day in your setup at least.
Definitely.
Not
Look,
necessarily in the 11.
if it was up to me,
Hmm.
again, this is bad because of my proximity to Brevis. I love him so much. So, but given a choice, I also love Stubbs a lot. I have this
Hmm.
attachment to these two.
Both of them.
The thing is, I would give Brevis as many chances as possible because if truth be told, minus the bias
Hmm.
and everything, I think Brevis is the most talented batter to come out of South Africa at the moment.
Yeah.
So you
You have
want
him
to
over
give him
Stubbs in terms of pure talent in Test match cricket as well.
pure talent. Pure talent, I'd put Brevis ahead and then Stubbs
Fair
just
enough. I,
behind.
I think I
Stubbs
agree
is
with you for white ball cricket. Test, I don't know yet for sure. But even Stubbs hasn't proven himself as such in Test match cricket so far. So it will be interesting. But those two are definitely, the most talented batters to come out of South Africa in this last 4 or 5 years.
yeah. And so I will give Brevis all the room he needs to grow. He's shown that
Yeah,
he is too good for domestic cricket in Red Bull. He's just too
correct.
good. And so what you want is to give him the room to grow and just
Hmm.
develop his Red Bull game, which means more matches as much as possible.
Hmm.
Same with Stubbs. He might fail, but keep him in the side. Give him the room to
Hmm.
expand his talent, to, fortify his technique. Yes, he might fail maybe two matches in a row or something like that, but that's part of the
Hmm.
learning process. It's sport. These guys are nowhere near their peak. So you want them to reach their peak at a time when they are very, very good. They understand their game very well.
True. No, no, completely agree with your entire rationale. So, but I think right at the moment, it perhaps makes more, logical sense to stick with Desorzi because he has shown that he can score runs in Asia. So for that reason, they might just stick with him
That's the
and
thing.
pick with one of Stubbs or Brevis for the time being. And Bavuma is obviously he's going to be a lock in this side. He's the captain. He is the WTC winning captain. He is the man who has brought them the title, and he has improved massively as a test batter too, hasn't he? In the last, I think the 2020s in particular, he has been a very, very consistent player in Test cricket. He hasn't always got the hundreds, I think, but I think that's completely okay if he has the ability to, start very well. I think I was looking up his median scores. They were always above 30, like 33, 36, somewhere around that mark in both the time periods that I was comparing him. So if that's the level of player that we're talking about who's going to consistently start at least, if not go on to make big runs, you would take that. And I think with Markram, he is more inconsistent, but on the day that he can perform, we know what he has we know what ability he has, right? So I think those two really make a good pair, as we saw in the WTC finals, right? They won them the finals. So yeah, I think so for the time being, they'll have the openers, then Dezorzi, Bavuma, and one of Stubbs of Brevis, which I think is completely fair.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then they'll have Verena at number six,
Yes, yes.
and then they'll
Verena
go with
comes
the
in.
all-rounders and the bowlers, correct? Correct?
Yes, then one of Mulder and or Bosch after Verena,
Hmm.
and then Janssen, and then the
Hmm.
spinners, and then KG at number 11.
You would you have Muthusamy in the team or not?
I would. Mutusami is good, and Mutusami, while
Can
he's
bat
good
as well,
with
no?
a ball, he also extends your bowling, your batting. I mean,
Batting,
he can
exactly.
score runs. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I, w- I would have him in the side.
But this is the dilemma, right? Like, so we have the first six spots filled. That is all completely fine. We have no issues up to the keeper. Then number seven, you're saying you'll have one of Bosch or Mulder. Fine. Then and you'll have Rabada and Janssen as the two quicks. Then we
Mhm.
have to pick two spinners out of three. So who misses out in that case?
Okay, all right. The two
Yeah.
spinners will
Or do
depend.
they just pick Muthusamy as their all rounder at number seven and go in with both the spinners, Maharaj and Harmer? Then you have two
I
pacers,
think,
three spinners anyways.
yeah, but then I always feel okay, depending on the surface. If the surface
Yeah, of course.
is turning a lot, I would put Mutasami after Janssen and then
Hmm.
have Hama and Maharaj and KG, right?
Yeah,
But the other thing is you need to give KG and Janssen a break.
I
So
agree. I agree.
would it be sensible to have spin on both sides
No, no, no. I
for,
get what you're saying. So I think
for a
uh,
long spell?
it
That's
will obviously it's tough. I know. It will rely on the
yeah.
conditions as well. Let's see what sort of a wicket they serve, and you know,
Mhm.
I think what they can
So,
do is. So they picked the two best spinners in Maharaj and Harmer anyways. They picked the two
mhm,
best seamers in Rabada and Janssen anyways. So your
mhm,
number 8 to number 11 is sorted anyways. And so for that, now you have to pick the number 7 for that all-rounder spot, right? And if they want a spin option, they can go with Muthusamy. If they want a
mhm.
pace bowling option, they can go with one of Bosch or Mulder. I think that is the way that, makes sense for them to look at these things.
Yeah, yeah. There's more of a dilemma than I thought because
Yeah, because
I
you
would
can only
just
pick
have gone
11. We can pick
with.
12.
All right. Um, now that we've dispensed with that, let's let's pick an old time India versus South Africa in India team.
Yeah, yeah,
Would you like
we
to
can
go
do that.
first or should I?
You go first.
Oh, no problem. If I go first, then I know I'm supposed to pick someone else, but I'll pick Hashim at the top.
No, I think that's a great one. I had him too. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
because
right. So
he's the
he
one
can
with,
bat at
am I
three.
right now? Most
Yeah.
hundreds of all the South Africans in India
Yeah.
and very good
He does.
average
He does.
and
He made a lot of runs
a
in
great
2008 and
football.
2010, I think.
Mm.
So
And
sorry, you were
who's
saying
your first one?
I cut you off there. I cut you off there.
No, no,
Sorry, you
no.
were saying something about most hundreds, and then after
Oh,
that.
oh, most hundreds. And a high score of 253 and not unbeaten, not out. So look,
Hmm.
it it's a no-brainer. We will have him opening
Yeah.
the betting.
You want him to open? He can bat at three as well. But I think I actually open
Yeah,
might
yeah.
also make sense. You know?
Mhm.
We can see, we can adjust depending upon the 11. So, okay, do you want me to pick an Indian player or should I go for a South African player? I'm fine with both. I can pick as you
I
wish.
don't have Indian players, so please go for an Indian player.
Well, I will pick an Indian player then. I will go for my childhood favorite, Virender Sehwag. He can be our opener. And he has made lots of runs against South Africa. He had that 319 back in the day at Chipok against a side that had Dale Steyn in it. So that always makes things more impressive, you know. And he has 400s actually against South Africa. So if you look at India versus South Africa playing in India, then after Amla, the player with the most runs is Sehwag, and he does it at a strike rate of 87. So you get that sort of an attacking opener as well. I know in Test cricket, it doesn't always matter how fast you score, but when you have a player who can score that fast, and at that average in particular, you know, just completely destroying bowlers for fun, you pick him every day for me.
Oh yes,
And it wasn't just that series actually. So I was looking at it in every series that he's played against South Africa at home, he has a century. And in 2010, he actually has two centuries. Yeah, so he has 400 in three series. That's a pretty solid record to have. I'll take that.
I love Viru. He's
Mm.
he was a
Everybody at good
master.
areas is a fan.
That's the other thing. We
You
love him
can't.
at good areas.
Jared is not going to, you know, he wouldn't hire us. He wouldn't hire us in the first place if we were not fans of Sehwag. He is the man who is the OG Sehwag fan, and which is also crazy, isn't it?
I think
Yeah.
I will leave the number 3 and 4 spots open and go to number 5.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I want AB de Villiers in there.
Yeah. I had AB in that 12 too. I was just not sure where I would slot him in, but I had him. That's a good call for
Yeah,
sure. I think
because
if we
again,
remember that 2015 series, he looked like the
mhm,
best South African batter in that series comfortably on very difficult surfaces, extreme rank turners and those sorts of pitches, and he showed that he can bat long, but he can also score impactful runs. And although South Africa lost the series, I think even before that he has made a lot of runs in India. So I completely agree
mm,
with you. No issues with him at five.
yes, yes. And who am I
Great.
going with? Who's your
So
next one?
I pick next, right? Yeah,
Yes.
so I have to pick another player. I will go with let's go with Jadeja. I'll go with Jadeja. He can be our all-rounder in this
Mm.
team, and you know,
Yes,
if we look at his
yes.
numbers against South Africa in particular, he averages 18 with the ball, and he must have added some runs with the bat too. Yeah, he averages
Yes.
40 with the bat. So you pick that player every single day. And I know some of this is on good spinning wickets as well. That 2015 series, lots of bowlers, like both Ashwin and Jadeja, even Imran Tahir picked up a lot of wickets back then. So I get some of that is from that series. But even the next series, the 2019 one, where India actually served up good batting surfaces, and it was their pacers who won India. That it was the batters and the pacers who, you know, and in fact even the spinners obviously, but the batters and pacers also had a very high impact, and you know they had that ability to win games for India on good batting wickets. So Jadeja still has good numbers, even including that series. So I think he'll be my all-rounder at that number seven, number eight position.
And
So who's your next
I
pick?
will I'll go with a pacer and I
Hmm.
will pick Donald.
Yeah, that's a great one. I had him too. Yeah,
Yeah, because
again.
Alan Donald, I mean, when you average 16, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, when you average 16 in India as a pacer, that's just unheard of.
yeah, exactly. I think it's that ability that he had. I think, you know, he was pretty good across conditions, wasn't he, back in the day? He's one of the greatest pacers to have played the game, I would have to say that. Not, I don't know where he would rank in because there are so many great pacers from so many generations, but he's definitely right up there in that conversation. And even I think when we were doing the quick picks for the best 90s team, uh, I actually can't remember if we ended up picking him or not, but I had him, I think. And I don't know if one of them made a mistake or something like that. It could be that one of Forever Zehram made a mistake and not didn't end up picking him. But I think we had him in ODIs too. So he's obviously one of the great South African pacers for sure. I think I would have him just after Steyn if we're talking in, and that's Pollock too actually. So it's interesting. But he's at least top three, isn't he? Since South Africa came
Mhm.
back to cricket in that period, we have to say that he is. Okay, no, there is Ramada too. Okay, this is hard. No, but I think for this 11, I completely agree with you. Donald has to make it. It's a
Yeah,
great selection,
definitely.
Philly.
Look, I don't think the modern generation fully understands how good he was.
Yeah.
Donald
We
was
haven't seen him,
just.
right? We have just seen highlights.
And who's your next?
Um, so I will have to go with another Indian. Should I make a bias pick and pick my favorite player? He does have a good record against, very good record against South Africa, actually. I think I will pick him. I will pick Virat Kohli then. And he can bat at
Yeah.
four or five, depending upon whether you pick the great South African all-rounder or not. I think he can slot in at five very comfortably. Obviously, for someone who's played most of his cricket at number four, five is not really much of an issue. And
Mhm.
his highlight really was that 254 that he made against South Africa in that 2019 series. Is still his Test cricket highest score. And in the 2015 series, he didn't make a lot of runs, although nobody did. But in Delhi, I think he had a pretty good solid Test match. He made runs in both the innings back there. I think Rahane got twin hundreds in that Test match. But with Kohli, I think you have that ability that at his peak he could play both pace bowling and spin bowling as well as anyone almost in the world. Only second to Steve Smith at his peak. So and South Africa is a country he's loved playing across formats, hasn't he? Across formats, tournaments, conditions. It's the sort of team I think often we talk about him and how well he is playing against Australia or Pakistan, which is true. I'm not denying that. But I think South
Mhm.
Africa is also another team that seems to bring the best out of him. And there might be an argument that it is his favorite, favorite opponent to play against in a way. Because some of the knocks that he has played both home and away, I think are just spectacular. And also his equation with AB. I mean, we cannot ever deny
Mm.
that the fact that the two of them have batted so well together for RCB and they share such a good bond outside the field. They are the closest mates and everything. And even I think early on in his career, he's had a lot of players from South Africa during his tenure at RCB since the start. Right, he's played with Steyn, he's played with Mark Boucher. So I think for those reasons, he would gel pretty well in this setup. Even Faf du Plessis, another South African skipper who captained RCB during his time when he stepped down, then he was the one I think who wanted you know I'm sure he would have had a say in wanting Faf as the next skipper because he had a lot of respect for him even before that. So for that reason, I think completely I'm going to pick my favorite player with good reason. So nobody can call me biased either. But I think we still had other good options too. Then that's fair.
Look,
Sachin actually is the interesting one, but he doesn't make runs against South Africa in India. If it was in South Africa, then I think I would have actually picked both of those guys because they both have stellar records in South Africa. But for some reason, Sachin hasn't always made a lot of runs against South Africa at home. So I think this time I can go with Kohli.
I don't think it's possible to have a combined India South Africa side without Kohli. Look, it's impossible. I mean, Kohli was just that. I remember that each time India played South Africa, when Kohli was in the middle, I would be unsettled because
Yeah,
this guy will take the game away from you. That's just how
yeah,
good he was as a test player. So yeah, I really get
yeah.
that pick.
Yeah.
And
I think what has
now
happened with him is because he hasn't made a lot of runs in the last third of his career, right? He had a pretty steep
yes.
decline. So there has been some revisionism actually on his career that okay, maybe he was not so great a player, which I think is a bit unfair on him. I think some of the criticism is also fair. I'm not denying that, but I mean to say that someone with 9,000 plus runs, 30 Test match centuries, yes, he doesn't average 50, he's still I think averaging 47. But even Amla is a very similar case, isn't he? And Amla also had a very high peak and then he had a pretty steep decline. And I think those two are actually pretty similar batters in a way where great ODI players as well have that ability to play both spin and pace, rotate strike pretty well. All those sorts of the basics of the game they were very clear at. Not necessarily at, they may not have had the flamboyance of an AB de Villiers or maybe the grit of a Jack Callis, but those sorts of players you always want to have in your team, I think. So it fits pretty well. And I think I just want you to pick that great all-rounder now. Obviously, I've mentioned we've name dropped him so many times. So he has to be in. He has a brilliant record too.
I was
So go for it.
I was avoiding him. I was avoiding him. I kept looking at my list and thinking, should I go with him? And I'll be like, no, let me drag this out.
Why?
But okay, yes, let's go with Jacques Callis, second most run
Yes,
for South Africa against India in India. I mean, it's
correct.
again like Kohli, it just doesn't make sense to do a team without him.
It's hard to make any 11 without Jack Callis when we're doing test match cricket stuff, right? Just because of the fact that he can bat at number four and give you 20 overs with the ball. And yes, in India, he hasn't bowled too much. I think he has 7 wickets from 9 matches. And yeah, he bowled only 99 overs from 9 test matches. So I think maybe in Indian conditions, they didn't always require him that much. But I think having that option in your top seven is still pretty solid. And so he can easily, as I said, he can slot in at number four for you. Kohli can go to five, and AB can be your number six. So I have no issues with that. And then let's see which direction we go ahead with in terms of the keeper.
Yes, now I'm waiting for you because I have avoided that one because I was also
Yeah.
thinking who's our keeper and I couldn't just make my mind up.
So the way to do this if we just sort of pick the easy way. We can just pick AB de Villiers as the wicketkeeper. But I think we shouldn't do that. He actually hasn't kept a single time in Indian Test match cricket. So I think and keeping in Test matches in India is a skill on its own, right? Like keeping on spinning wickets is much different from doing it on surfaces with pace and bounce. And I think nobody can ever doubt his ability as a wicketkeeper or as a fielder in general. I mean, obviously he was a much better fielder than a wicketkeeper, I think. Otherwise he would have kept more wickets. And we've often seen that most of his best work in the field has come when he has not had the gloves on, right? In the outfield, even in the inner circle, I think he can pick spectacular catches out of nowhere. You can put him anywhere, I think, almost in the field. He's one of the best fielders that I've seen in my life. So uh, we'll not pick him as the wicketkeeper. We'll just keep him as the batter. I think we'll go with Dhoni as the wicketkeeper, and he can slot in at number seven in this team. He's also done well against South Africa at home,
Donny, all
and
right.
yes, he doesn't have the flamboyance of a Rishabh Pant in the sense that yes, Dhoni was also an attacking batter in his own way, and his style of play is much different from Rishabh's, but Rishabh actually hasn't played a single test match against South Africa at home. So we just couldn't pick him, right? And I think none of the South African batters, wicket keepers who came over to India actually made that many runs to make sure that we picked them.
Mhm.
And so I think it was a pretty simple call to go with Dhoni. Because I see Mark Boucher's numbers, he's averaging 31. QDK is averaging 36, but that's from 4 innings only. The other wicket keepers, they haven't really had much of an impact at all. So in this sense, I think, and since I had to pick another Indian player, I think it makes good sense to go with Dhoni. His numbers are also pretty solid. Averages what 46? Yes, 46. Has a century and a half century from 7 innings. From your wicket keeper at number seven, you will take that every single day.
Yes. Sorry. Definitely. I will take that from Donny anytime. And look, he also brings it's not a lot of people want to hear this, but he brings calmness to the side.
Yeah,
He has
he does.
that
He does.
ability to just have everyone relax and play the game properly. So
Yeah.
that's more than just the glove work and the batting. So I'm good with that. I was also struggling with the South African keeper because, as you said, Boucher didn't score a lot, neither did Queenie. So that made it also
Yeah.
very difficult for me.
And with Queenie, I
Now the
think he's
question
also
is,
not at his best in Asian conditions, isn't he? You see that he has issues
mhm,
playing spin bowling in Test match cricket at times. Whenever he came over
yes,
to Asia,
yes,
I think. But I think on good pacer-friendly surfaces, he had that ability to really run away with the game and bat really fast in a way that now we see the likes of Rishabh Pant doing now. But QDK was doing that even before this new lot came into the picture, right? And maybe in this generation, he could have been that hipster pick at number five, even for South Africa. I don't know if they're considering. He did come back to white ball cricket. So do you think there is a possibility they might think of him for Test too, or he might consider a comeback in the Test setup, something like that?
No, I don't see him coming in to the Test side because the when he approached Shooks, he said he was available for the white
Hmm,
ball. So I think
correct.
I also get it because you know
Hmm. He retired at
I did a
29,
piece
didn't
on
he,
him.
from Test?
Yeah, I I did this piece on him recently where
Yeah.
Queenie said that one of the main things he left international cricket was the heartbreak, the semi-final losses and whatever. But
Hmm.
if you read the art of betting, Jared
Hmm.
speaks to this West Indian star who was burnt out physically and mentally because of the high volume of matches he played. I feel that Queenie
Hmm.
was also in that bracket
That's true.
because
He was playing all
I've
formats.
spoken to, yes, he was playing all formats and available for every series. Look, there were guys who told me that they were wicket keepers. They couldn't get into the side because Queenie wanted to play every series. Even when he had a niggle, he
Hmm.
would say, I'm there. So there's that burnout. And people don't realize that, there's burnout, serious
Yeah.
burnout. So I think now he just has to manage his workload, and adding test cricket will just be too much.
Yeah. No, I think that's completely fair. And maybe they also don't want to tinker too much with the WTC winning side already. I think sometimes those team dynamics also
But
make sense. You don't want to change what's worked for you, right? I think about this even
exactly,
from the perspective of the teams I support. When you're like, okay, you've won now, just calm down. Don't think around, don't make any changes, don't mess it up now. Until there's a first change, don't do anything.
yeah, exactly. If you have a winning side, just let it cook as it is.
Exactly.
Even if someone is not performing, they are bringing something that's helping these guys to perform.
Exactly. Yeah. And players often talk about this, right? We often, I think a lot of this I saw in the women's, when I was doing this piece for the Indian women's team and how they won the World Cup and everything. That just piece that went up today. So for this, Smriti was often, crediting those players who weren't even playing that many games for the contributions that they had in the setup just by being around. And I think lots of players have also in the past talked about the impact of these players and what sort of an energy they bring. Maybe if you bring back
Mhm,
another star player at the expense of someone else who maybe doesn't even want to play test,
mhm,
or if he wants to play, even then it could complicate things, right? Because why did he retire in the first place? I think this is the sort of
mhm,
issue that might have happened with AB also, because wasn't he planning to come back for 2019? I don't actually know too much about that issue, but that was also a bit of an interesting one, I thought, because he also retired early, for sure. He could have easily played another 4 years of international cricket at the level that he was in every single format. There was no dip in his abilities, I feel, watching him play in the IPL. He was just with age, he was cooking, and maybe I think
mhm,
he had an issue with his retina, didn't he? So maybe that played a part. Maybe he felt that okay, fine, maybe international cricket is too much at this point. And sometimes players also want to prioritize their families, which is completely fair. You only have like a certain amount of shelf life as an athlete, and you want to maximize that and then spend time with your family because so much of time goes in these tours and everything, right? You're not always there at home, and you want to be there for your kids with your family, right?
yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, when AB left, that was before the
1 year before the
that
World
was
Cup.
before
Yeah.
CSA was not yet evolved at that time, if I may say so.
Okay.
And there was a lot of
Hmm.
stuff happening again, like the
Hmm.
corruption stuff. There was there,
Hmm.
there was just so much happening. And one
Right.
one thing that people will look at is just that AB wanted to, let's say, at the time, he wanted to pick and choose. And people didn't understand that.
Hmm.
Now we now see it from
Yeah.
a perspective to say it's workload management.
Workload
He
management.
needed to be
Yeah.
able. to say, you know what, I
Didn't the
cannot be
same thing happen
available
with
for
KP
this
as well?
because,
Same thing happened
yeah,
with KP for England
but
back in 2013.
mhm,
Kevin Peterson, when he was playing for England, he was also like, I want to pick
yeah,
and choose. I don't want to play ODI cricket. I want to play this. I want to decide what I want to play. And England also didn't
mm,
take too kindly to that, I believe, because he also retired after that Ashes that they lost 5-0, right? And I think both of those guys were my
mm,
favorite players growing up, of course, with Virat Kohli and Sehwag and all those guys. These two were also two. I think these two have been the batters, AB and KP, that have captivated me the most from like among the foreign players by far. I've like properly rooted for them every single time. Like, whenever they played for my teams, even when they played against my teams, I've seen the level of performance that they can put. So, yeah, I think we have strayed a
true.
bit too much from the
Now,
topic. I have to pick another player. Or do you have to pick another player?
no,
Sorry.
no, no.
Who did we pick last? I
I
picked
have
Dhoni, I think.
to,
Yeah, you have to pick. Go on.
I have to, but now I'm wondering what
Hmm.
surface we are playing on because that will determine who I go with.
Yeah. So let's
Because
assume it's a standard Indian wicket. We can't. So we'll just pick a 12 and we can bring in another spinner or seamer depending upon the conditions. I think let's go that way. So don't worry about that too much.
okay, so I will for
Pick
possible
whoever you
number
want. I'll
eight,
adjust.
if we have Jadu at number seven, which I think is his
Yeah.
rightful position,
Hmm.
for number eight, I want Lance
Hmm.
Klusener in there
Ooh,
because
that is
of all the
a
all rounders,
interesting one. Yeah. That sort of
of all the all
caught me
rounders
off
we
guard.
have,
Hmm.
Klusner has the best figures combined. You
Hmm.
look
But
at his
but the
average
thing is,
with a
I get it,
ball,
I get it.
his average with a ball is what 31,
31. Yeah.
and with a bat he averages 36 with a bat, 31 with a ball. I
Yeah.
mean, that's it. That's what you will take that any day from your all rounder.
Yeah,
And
that those are pretty
he
decent
was
numbers
probably one of the
for.
most misused batters by South Africa.
That's also very true, actually. I completely agree with you on that. The only thing is, I was expecting you to pick another South African pacer, the other great South African pacers. Now I'm a bit confused. You've caught me off guard with this. I wasn't expecting Zulu in the test this thing because, like, if we were doing an ODI one, I think we would have had him as one of the first few picks. But now, he can bat
No,
at
no,
eight,
no,
he
no.
can bat at six
There's no
also.
one else. Exactly. So I just thought I would have in
Okay.
my head of someone whom everyone would want in the side, but then also
All
you
right.
think, hmm,
Interesting. Hmm. Okay, anyways, I have the ability to pick another Indian player. Right. I'll go with Ashwin. He will be our other spinner, and
hmm,
we need at least two spinners on Indian wickets. Even if it's an absolute road, you cannot play in Asia because of how the conditions go and everything. You need to have two spinners, and I think it's pretty simple. Ashwin has dominated South Africa in both the series that he played. Very similar to Jadeja, and actually has an even lower bowling average. He averages 15 with the ball. And if we actually break it down by series, he has 46 wickets in 7 games. That is a lot of wickets, man. Yeah. And yeah, in that first series, he picked up, am I reading this right? Yeah, he picked up 31 wickets. 31 wickets in 4 matches in that first series that they played back in 2015, right? The one that was on good rank turners,
hmm.
good spinning surfaces. So at an average of 11. And then even in the next series, he picked up 15 wickets in 3 matches at an average of 25, which I think was very good for that series, considering the pitches they played on, much more batting friendly. And I think I remember Faf saying they're making 500, they're declaring, and they're getting a three down by the end of the day. That is the same thing that is happening over and over again in every single match. So, so I think Ashwin will easily be my spinner, and so with him, I am very confident about him even on a wicket that is not turning because in India, I think regardless of where he bowls, and especially because of the fact that he's always a threat to left-handers, but in Asia he's also a threat to right-handers. So if this match is happening in Asia, we are sorted. But and obviously we are assuming that this game is happening in India, so that's not much of a worry. But even if say this game was happening in South Africa, I don't think at times he has bowled well in South Africa too. Of course, the sort of wickets that he has played on, I don't think he has had that much of he hasn't been able to make that much of an impact because it's so seamer friendly that a spinner can't possibly have that much of an impact, right? We always see this whenever we play, like in South Africa, England, Australia, those sorts of countries. If the pacers are getting a lot of help, spinners can't really do much. They at best they can hold, they can do that holding job, which I think Ashwin can do at times pretty well too. And I think he actually picked up 4 wickets in Centurion too in that Test match that South Africa won in 2018. So no issues with Ashwin as a spinner. Obviously, this is for India, so we don't have to worry too much about the other stuff. And we have our two spinners, and we have Donald and Zulu as the two pacers for now, and we have Callis as well, of course.
Now, this is a problem because South Africa doesn't have great spinners with great records in India.
Yeah,
So Zulu might be 12th man.
yeah,
That will allow me to sneak in Stain.
exactly. That's who I wanted you to pick in the first place. He is one of the best bowlers, I think, one of the best visiting bowlers that uh, one of the best visiting places in Indian conditions because of that ability to reverse swing as well, right? And he used to take all those wickets in clusters. I think there was that spell at Nagpur when he picked up 7 wickets for just 51 runs. Must be up there with one of his best spells in Test match cricket, if I'm not wrong. And if we look at his numbers. Yeah, he averages 21 as a pacer and on
That's
absolutely
that's
flat surfaces. I think that was a time when test batting in general, was a lot more batter friendly. And so for that reason, I completely agree with you. Any other thoughts that you have on him?
yes. So yeah, because yeah, I mean, if Klusner is our 12th, that makes a lot of sense because most wickets for South Africa and
Hmm,
India, as you said, stay. I mean, there's no
right,
comparison. I was just delaying the
exactly.
inevitable, but also I wanted
You're right.
room
You're right.
to I, I wanted room to get Zulu in because I love him
No,
so
I get
much.
that. I get that.
um, Now it's your
Yeah,
pick. Who who
I can
is
still
our
pick another
final?
player. Can I not? Yeah.
Yes, you
Oh
have to pick
wait,
another one.
one second. Uh, 1 second. So this is interesting now. I can pick another spinner. I can pick another
Mhm,
batter as well. So it depends on the sort of combination that we want to go ahead with. So as of now, we have Sehwag as the opener, Amla 3, Callis 4, Kohli
mhm.
5, AB 6, Dhoni 7, and wicketkeeper Jaddu
Mhm.
7, Zulu can be our number 9.
12.
That is, I think, and yeah, Donald. Sorry, Ashwin. But then we can pick only one of Donald or Steen in that. I think what we do is the best way forward might just be if we have Zulu as the 12th, if we have Zulu as the 12th,
Mhm,
he can sub in for one of the Pacers or maybe even bat in the top six if need be. He can slot in at that number six role, right? So one, two, three, four,
mhm.
six, seven, eight, 9, 10, 11. Then I think so we've gone with two spinners and two pacers, and we have Callis as well. We can pick. I'm just thinking if we should pick another spinner. We have a South African spinner who has a pretty good record in India. We can go in that direction. The only thing that would do is then Amla would have to open, Callis would have to bat three. Kohli for AB5 will not be an issue. Dhoni at six will not be an issue either. Jaddu at seven will also be fine. Only thing is, I even Callis I think should be able to bat at three. Not really much of a problem for a player of his caliber. And
Mhm.
Amla, of course, a very good number three bat. He can also go up. I think it might be a bit difficult, in the sense that you always want to have a specialist opener, and there is a South African opener with good numbers in India, a former coach of India, World Cup winning coach of India, actually, Gary Kirsten. So now I'm interested. I'm confused between whether we should go for the opener in Gary Kirsten or whether we should go for another spinner in Paul Adams because we need to have some. We need to have a South African spinner as well, I think, to make things a bit interesting. I'm just confused now. Who should I pick?
Mm, all right. The good
Or
thing
or
is we
or
don't
can
have a
I just pick
huge.
an
No, well, just I'm thinking. I didn't look at his stats, but it's very difficult to have a conversation that does not include Bumrah. What are his stats against South Africa?
But he hasn't played South Africa at home. I think that is the thing. So we don't really have to
Oh,
worry too much about this particular. He hasn't played South Africa at home. He has played in South Africa. He has been good, but very good actually.
yeah,
But
but he hasn't played them at home. That's good.
it's the same thing as Rishabh Pant.
That makes me good.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would have picked them both.
Okay, that makes me
Hmm.
breathe better. So you're thinking of opener or spinner?
Yeah,
We have
that's what.
Jadu and
My thing
Ashwin.
is on Indian surfaces, the way I think about it is that if we have three spinners and two pacers, that does the job pretty
Mhm,
well because then you have enough pace bowling options as well for Asian wickets.
mhm.
And with Callis, you get that third pacer as well, in fact. So even that is not a problem, right? And your number four can give you some overs as your third pacer, that's solid. And apart from that, if you have three good spinners operating, it's worth, considering that at least. And if we
Yes,
look at
definitely.
Paul, sorry, if we look at Paul Adams, right?
Yeah.
His numbers. So he plays in that 96-97 series.
Mhm.
Bowling, if we look at his record, he took 14 wickets at an average of 20. My thing is if he can have him in the team, he picked wickets at Kanpur and Ahmedabad as well. He had a pretty decent. He had one bad match, but the other two games he was very impactful. So I am interested to have another spin bowling option and go for him and just shift all the other batters. And then in that case we can just have Zulu as our 12th man as the all rounder. So yes, I will go ahead and pick Paul Adams as the third spinner in our team.
Oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. So Adams will be at
Yeah,
11 because I don't see him
yeah.
batting, do I?
No, that is
Yeah.
fine. And I'm not worried
So
about the
Adams
batting because we
11,
already have too many guys
Spain,
to do that job.
Donald 10. Yeah, I mean, we have a very deep batting order here. We bet as deep as Ashwin.
Yeah. The way I have
And
I
Ashwin
have
is
the
what?
11 in
Number
front of me. Can I just name it? Yeah. So I think obviously Sehwag and Amla can open the innings. Kallis at
mhm,
3, Kohli at
mhm,
4, AB at 5,
mhm,
Dhoni at 6,
mhm.
Jadeja 7, Ashwin 8, Donald 9, Steyn 10, Adams at 11, and 12th will be Lance Klusener, Zul.
Yeah, but I will have Stain above Donald. Stain is a half century, or is it two of them?
Yeah, he does have a half. Doesn't he have it in Australia if I'm not wrong? I feel like he hit
Yeah,
76
yeah.
or something like that. I've seen the highlights at some point for sure. Yeah, fine. We
No,
can make that
yeah,
change
that's
for
a
sure.
very interesting side.
Yeah,
It's a very interesting side. I don't
good
think a
pace
lot of
spin.
people would have had that 11 because I think
Hmm.
a lot of people would have picked other people, but you know, from where I'm sitting and from where you are sitting, this is the best we could come up with.
No,
Well,
no, I
except for
completely
Klusner
agree.
because you you wanted someone else.
No, the thing is, if we didn't pick, you picked Stain anyway, so I'm not worried about that bit. My thing was the 11 that I had Sehwag and Kirsten opening, Amla 3, Callis 4, Kohli 5, and I had Azharuddin as the other Indian option. That's who I was talking about. That
Mm,
I'll just pick Kohli, but Azharuddin was also another one who I think he had that innings at Cape Town, right, where him and Sachin just went absolutely nuts, and they were like 54 for 5, but they played a brilliant, like they had that brilliant partnership. They added 200 runs in like 40 overs or something. Back then, it was such a crazy thing. Now we still see it at times in tests. Now, but back then, I think it would have been something else. I don't know if you watched that series or not, but if you would have, I think it would be a core memory, wouldn't it? That series.
yeah, I
Do you
really
have
don't
any memories of
like
it?
to think. I don't like to think a lot about the time South Africa was taken to the cleaners, but
No, that is fair. That is also fair. Yeah, but no, no, I get that completely. So my thing was, yeah, and at home also, Azhar, I think has had some of those fast scoring tons against South Africa. If
Mhm.
uh, just one second. Yeah, so he has three centuries actually against South Africa at home from 8 innings, and he was at number five. He also batted at six a couple of times, three times. So he had three centuries. Look at the strike rates: 141, 71, and 60. So he could have also been an interesting pick for sure. And but I think it's fine. We can go with Kohli. That's okay. That was anyways an option. And I had AB at six, Dhoni at seven, Jadeja eight. Then I had Ashwin at nine, Stain and Donald, and I think 12th I had gone with Paul Adams. So that's how I was thinking about it. We can have. I think the only real difference then is that I had Kirsten as the opener and you ended up picking Zulu. So I was like, okay, fine. Let's just go ahead and not pick another opener. We have enough batting talent, so we don't have to worry massively about it. Yes, Amla and Callis are playing out of position, but the level of players
Mhm.
that they are, I think, especially in Indian conditions, like if you're a number three in India, and you have to come in as an opener. It's not that different from say doing it in other like if you're doing it in South Africa, still you're going up a spot. In these conditions, the main challenge that you're going to face is spin bowling. So I think for that reason, it's not that much of a concern to have Callis and Callis has batted at three in Test match cricket. So we are not even like too bothered about that. Amla hasn't batted as an opener in Test, I believe, or he might have done it a couple of times at best. I can we can adjust a bit for that.
I considered Kirsten for a bit, but
Mhm.
something just made me not pick him. I don't know.
You
I
always
looked
have
at his
Amla as the
numbers.
opener, right?
Yeah, like I Amla has this ability, you can ask him to open and he will do it. And so
Yeah, for sure.
eh, that's why I went with him. And I knew that you would have another opener. So
Yeah,
and also I did not think a
makes
lot
sense.
about the number three, to be fair. I did not think about that because we don't
No, I think that's fair.
we
And
don't
Callis can
have
do it
good number
anyway. So,
threes.
yeah, Amla is our best option to be the number three, like technically speaking. But I'm sure a player of Callis's caliber, he's done so well for South Africa when I was looking at the stats when they were like 50 for two or less. He has great
Mhm.
numbers. So, I mean, he just has to he has to come up a spot higher. That's not such a big issue for one of the greatest players to have played the game. So, well, we can adjust a little bit. And I think it's a good team. It's a pretty strong team. We have all-round options. We have batting till number eight. We have three spinners and three pacers, and then Zulu as the all-rounder. So I don't really have much of an issue. No, not much to worry about at all. Yeah,
Brilliant. Shayan, thank you so much. I had time. We had a few laughs. You tried to make me cry by trying to remind me of the
yeah,
times India did a number on South Africa. Not sure.
yes.
I was very receptive, but but thank you very much
That's the
for
fun.
coming on, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, man. Great chat. A lot of fun talking about the current set of players, but also going back on a nostalgia trip and picking all these great players, most of whom, like some of them who I haven't seen, but a lot of them who I've seen on highlights, a lot of them who have followed, like I've grown up watching most of these players, right? And most of them, and as I keep saying, South Africa is like my second team in a way in international cricket. I think a big reason for that has to be AB and Stain. Those two are still like among two of my favorite cricketers ever. Both with if I'm making a list of my favorite batters, AB is always second in that after Virat. So that is unquestionable. And if I'm making a list of my favorite bowlers, then I think Stain might be second after Bumrah. So that's how I think about it. And I've always had this affection for South African cricket. I like watching Test matches in South Africa a lot too. That's one series which really gets me excited. And India haven't gotten the job done there yet. They came very close. They like I think in 2021, 22 they came pretty close, but ultimately South Africa chased it down quite comfortably in that last match, and that was perhaps their best chance. With QDK also retiring mid-series, it felt like maybe India will get the job done, but they couldn't. And then the next series was also pretty fun. They ended up drawing that. But the biggest issue that I have with India South Africa cricket at the moment is these two test matches, dude. Just play three matches, please. I just do not like these two match series at all. It's become so boring. The
Two match
context is
series.
always there with three. You know?
It
Exactly.
doesn't help. I mean, look at the Pakistan series.
Yeah.
1-1.
Imagine a
Then
decider
what?
there. Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly.
It just kills the fun.
Mm.
And New Zealand and South Africa, I feel like they are the two teams who have had to suffer the most because of this. I think New Zealand have been playing two tests even a lot before the WTC came into the picture. But South Africa did play a fair amount of three test series, if I'm not wrong. India went in 17-18, they played three matches. Australia played three matches. Then even Pakistan went, I think the next season they played three matches. And so for that reason, I think England has even gone and played four matches in South Africa in the last two tours that they went, and they haven't gone to South Africa in a long while. So as a cricket fan, I want to see more three Test match series at least, if not four or five. I can get the logistical constraints with four and five, but three just makes it a lot more fun. It adds that context outside of the WTC as well. I know the WTC is a big thing, like people want to win it and everything, but the tournament is ultimately flawed structurally in the sense that you know teams cannot everybody can't play everybody, right? And there's so much
Mhm.
you're not playing the same amount of test matches. Some teams are playing four matches, five matches. Some teams are playing two matches, which is at both a disadvantage and an advantage for the teams that are playing less, right? You don't get to capitalize when you're doing well, and you don't get to make a comeback when you've lost a couple of games. So it just becomes very high stakes cricket. Every game counts. I think as a South African, if you're looking from a WTC point of view, with India, you'll always be like, okay, there is another chance. We can do something in the next series. We can come back up.